So it's about that time of year when you guys start preparing for your AP tests in May. I know this is super daunting, but I got a 5 on AP World History and so can you. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys a super simple 3-step plan to how I got a 5 on World History. Okay, now real quick, I know a lot of you guys try to ask me what prep book is the best or what textbook is the best to study for this exam. Honestly, I know a lot of people will say the Princeton Review, a lot of people will say the Barron's, but personally I use the AMSCO and a lot of people at my school use it that got 5s. And the reason I recommend the AMSCO over all the other books is just because it's a little bit shorter. Honestly, it's a little bit more concise. It's got a lot of visuals, it's got practice problems at the end of every chapter. So I highly recommend that you guys get the AMSCO if you want to do a little bit of extra studying beyond these 3 steps I'm about to dive into. Okay, and also there are 2 main resources I used aside from this 3-step plan to get a 5. The first is this thing called a histomap, and it's basically this giant document that basically has documented all the different things that's happened through world history on a timeline, which is super neat and convenient to see. And there's also this cram chart, which I'll link them both down below in the description of the video. But the cram chart, as I'm sure you've heard the term before, is just super helpful for any kind of last second studying, really. Okay, so now it's the part of the video that you guys have probably been waiting for. Here's the very first step of my 3-step plan for you guys to get a 5. So the very first step entails, first of all, taking a super simple practice test. If you go online, there are tons of practice tests online. I know College Board has released a few here and there, but there's some by like Albert.io and certain companies online. You can easily find a PDF online. Take a practice test, just see where you're at, go over the exam, and take note of what concepts you struggled with. Not just the ones that you got wrong, but the ones that you kind of doubted yourself on, some of the ones that you guessed and still got right. Make sure you guys note that down because it'll help you throughout this 3-step process. Now, the second part of this first step is to watch every single one of the Heimler history videos. So if you go to YouTube, search up Heimler's history, he is absolutely amazing. Watch his individualized videos. So he has a video on like 1.1, 1.2, so like all the different parts of each unit of world history. It should only be like 5 or 6 hours in total, but really sit down and take proper notes on them and also note which concepts you struggle on, because again, that'll help you throughout these next parts of the process. Okay, now the second step. So you're about to see a pattern here where every single step, I want you guys to start off with a practice test. So same thing with step 2. Even though you did it for step 1, I want you guys to take another practice test, because the best way to prepare for these types of tests is just to be familiar with the exam. You know, I've seen a lot of teachers that will only do multiple choice questions throughout the entire year, or will give super easy FRQs throughout the year. And sometimes maybe it's not the teacher's fault or the school's fault, but like sometimes students aren't adequately prepared for the actual exam format itself. And to just be able to do it in one sitting is super important. So after you take that second practice test during this second step, I want you guys to revisit the difficult concepts that you found throughout the year, throughout both practice tests, in the AMSCO book or whatever prep book that you chose to buy. So in the AMSCO, they're formatted by chapters. So just revisit the specific within each chapter. There should be headings as to what concepts are covering on that page or that 1 or 2 pages in a row, whatever it is. And so just read through those concepts, take notes, and if you can, go online and see if there's a quiz specifically on that chapter or specifically on that one concept you're struggling, and make sure you're scoring well on that. Okay, now the third and final step. So again, start off with taking a practice test, right? And at this point, you've gotten a pretty solid understanding and a pretty solid review of all of world history at this point. And so think of this step as kind of your final review, your final chance to prove yourself on this exam. And so what I want you to do is you need to remember that world history is a pretty decently vocabulary-based course. You've got to know a lot of vocab and then be able to apply that vocab in your FRQs as well as your questions. So I'm going to link a Quizlet down below, but there's tons of other Quizlets online that are covering like the full year's length of content for world history. So make sure you go through this Quizlet. If you already know the terms, some of the terms, that's fine, but just focus on the terms that you don't know, especially if you felt like you've seen that on an exam before, right? If you can learn the vocab, and then right after that, I want you guys to go back to Heimler's videos. And instead of reviewing his individual videos for every single like part of each chapter, review his unit review videos. It should only be about like an hour or 2 hours in total of length. I know it's a lot, I'm sorry, but if you guys can get through that and you feel like that you've covered and understand, 90-95% of the content here and are retaining it, you guys should be in very good shape for this exam. And that's exactly kind of the approach I took to get a 5 on my exam. Okay, and y'all, a quick bonus tip here. Throughout the year, I know I'm probably going to release this video in like January or February, so if you guys are seeing this during that time frame, please try to take better notes during your class. I know it's tough, but what I recommend doing is, instead of mindlessly taking notes, at least either take note of concepts that you're learning, like actually learning, or at least just write down what topic it is that you were struggling with. Because by the end of the year, you've probably accumulated, by noticing your scores on tests, your discrepancies on FRQs, that you've really struggled with certain concepts. And by noting this down, I'm not even asking you guys to just research the concept and take notes on the actual concept. Just write down the name of the concept. That's what I'm trying to say. That way, once you get to this stage, you can put in some extra effort on those concepts. And if you come into the lens of this 3-step process with knowing what you're struggling with in mind, whenever you're going to that step of the AMSCO, the step of the Heimler's review, you can really, put your mind towards those specific concepts that you've really struggled with a lot. All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all sticking around to the end of this video. So that is how to get a 5 on AP World History. Comment down below what video ideas you want me to cover next. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so I can keep giving you guys good content to succeed in high school. And see you next time.